Am I audible now? Can you all hear me? I'm checking my microphone. Yes. Okay, good. All right, good. What did you miss? Did you guys miss my introduction or anything of that sort? Everything? Okay. All right. Let me start from the scratch then. Let's just go back. All right. I just gave my introduction, nothing else. We'll go and get started with Power BI today. So like I said, and just gave my introduction. So about myself, my name is Ambarishan and you can call me Amber. And I have around 15 years of experience in the IT industry. I started my career as a data warehouse engineer and slowly moved on to these tools like the data visualization tools. And that's how it is. Okay, not audible again. Is this? Give me 1 second, guys. Is it audible? Just give me 1 second, guys. Why is it happening? Am I audible or not? Let me know. You're audible. Okay.
You are clearly audible, actually.
Okay.
We
So
can hear
yeah,
you
just
properly.
check things from your side as well. Let's see. Okay, good. All right. Yeah. So like I said, I was starting my career with the data warehouse side of things and then slowly moved on to these data visualization tools. Okay. I predominantly train people on Power BI, Tableau, ClickView, ClickSense. These are the top 4 tools out there in the market right now. And I go and, kind of train people on that. Okay. Before I begin, we want to understand how things were working in the past. So I would like you to go and, we want to go and take a look at some traditional ways of working. We'll talk more about it in some time. But before I get into this concept, and we'll also talk about the modern ways of working, we want to understand how this tool works, how a traditional BI tool works. We are learning Power BI. We'll get to that BI part of it, but we'll understand what are these tools, how did they work, and we want to go and do something about it. Okay, so let's try that. Now, I want to take you for a moment into something else. Let's go to the browser here, and we'll start off with our a website here. This is not a reporting tool, but I want you to understand the ways of working of it. And then we'll implement and understand the same thing on the traditional reporting tool. Let's see. When I talk about BI tool, let's say in a simple way, understand that as a reporting tool. All right. So let's go and do that. So let me go to a website called as makemytrip.com. You may have gone to any other websites. You may have booked some tickets, booked some movie shows, let's say, for example, any sort of websites. Let me just take this as an example, and we want to understand what's going to happen with this website. Okay. Now, I want to go ahead and book some tickets, and we want to make sure that we are giving certain criteria here. And I'll go ahead and search for some tickets. I'm going to ask you some questions. Feel free to come off of mute and then talk to me. But let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so we are going with some flight tickets that we want to go ahead and create or book. All right, so I'm just going to say, let's go from Mumbai to New Delhi on certain date. Let's just start from here. I'll be coming back a week later, let's suppose. And in this case, we want to give this tool the tough time. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and have, these filters maxed out. And we'll also make sure that this is business class selected. So we have around 21 passengers here and then business class being selected. So we have to get all of these passengers in one flight, right? Now I cannot put the infants on a separate flight. I cannot have the adults put into a separate flight. So we need everyone. We are traveling with children, infants, and so on and so forth. So everyone needs to be put into the same flight, right? So let's go ahead and apply all of these filters. This is what we have. And I'm going to do a search on top of this. So we have our search criteria set. We want to go ahead and do a search on top of it. And again, this is the website. I'm not talking about a reporting tool. We'll take this idea and then incorporate it in our understanding, and we'll understand how a reporting tool would have worked the same way, right? So let's understand that. Okay. I'm going to hit search. And what I'll do is I will pause my screen. I'll go and ask you some questions. Just come out of mute and then talk to me here. Okay. All right. I'm hitting search and I'm going to pause my screen there. So look at that. The website says, okay, we are getting the business class flights for you. It's searching things behind the scenes. The question is very simple. And I won't be able to see the chat box. So I would appreciate if you can come out and then talk to me. Okay, what is it? What is the website doing? That's the question here. What do you think the website is doing behind the scenes? Let's break it down. Let's see.
Searching its database for the seats, available seats.
Yes, very good. So fetching the data from the database. Okay, very good. Anyone else wants to add anything on top of it? What does other think? I mean, what are you guys thinking? What is it doing behind the scenes?
Data
Okay.
filtering.
Yeah, data filtering. All right. Where is it happening? Where is it doing it? On the database. Simple. Okay. All right. Let me rephrase this a little bit. I want to go and give you nice, good details. So let's go and understand this. So this one here is our criteria, right? So we had some from to date, it's not shown here, but from and to date, and then we had the departure date, the return date, and we booked the tickets for 21 people, right? Now, this is our search criteria. And based on the search criteria, can we say that this tool is going to frame a query behind the scenes? It will go and execute this in the database, and I'm just drawing using my mouse. So don't mind my bad handwriting. So we have our, query being framed based on this, and then it's getting executed in the database, right? Is this clear so far? That's what is happening. And it's going to give you the results in front of you after this query gives you the result. Simple as that. Everyone in sync with me? Yes, everyone understands this is how it's all happening, correct? Okay, there can be a lot of things. We don't want to go into the technical jargons. We don't want to talk about APIs. We don't want to do a lot of other stuff. But yes, this is what is happening. So there is a query getting framed based on the input that I've given, and that is getting executed in the database. It will run for some time, and it should give me the results in some time, right? So let me come out of this particular froze or freeze mode. And what you'll see is you'll see all of these different flights available for us, right? Let's just do this in a real-time scenario here. I'm just going to go to the flights again. We'll go to a different one. Let's just go from Chennai to New Delhi. And I'm just going to change the date slightly so that we are clear that these are different parameters. It should look for all of that. So I'm just going to do search and just observe. It's going to take some time, right? So few seconds of delays. Are you looking at it? And then we get to see all of these different flights, right? So there is a little bit of a delay. I want you to keep this in mind as well. We have some filters, we have some parameters given, we have that particular details executed against the database. It's coming back with the results. All of that is happening, but it's happening with a slight delay. Just keep that as well in mind, okay? Now, let's go back to our slide and we will understand what's going on here. We're talking about traditional BI tool. We want to take that idea from the Make My Trip website. Let's take that idea of the query being executed against the database, coming back with the results. Let's take that idea, go forward with this concept here. Okay, so this is how a traditional reporting tool looks like. These are some old tools, old snapshots that I've got. And this tool is called as SSRS. Okay, it stands for SQL Server Reporting Services. So before Power BI, this was one of the tools that Microsoft was kind of selling. And this tool is still there out there in the market right now, but it's an old tool, outdated tool. It works in a different way. The look and feel is all kind of Stone Age, old age kind of a thing. So this is how the tool used to look like. And you can see the similar parameters being given, right? So this is a reporting tool. You see these parameters given, and once you have the parameters given, it should give you all of these results in front of you. Got it? That's what we have. So This is how this tool would work. All right. So again, going back to the same website example, we'll understand what is going on here, and then we will understand how this is all going to give you some advantages, disadvantages. That's the whole point that we want to go and understand. Okay, great. Let's understand there is a database behind the scene, and this is your traditional reporting tool. I just showed you a sample snapshot, right? That's a traditional reporting tool. Now, let's say, for example, we have some inputs, just like the website, you have some drop downs. Let's say, for example, you have some text boxes where you want to enter some text, whatever that is. These are input criteria for you. And based on this input, what did I tell you? There is going to be a query framed behind the scene. This query will be taken, it will be executed against the database, and you'll be able to come back with a result. You should be able to go and see your charts, graphs, and visual being showcased here, right? That's how a reporting tool works, right? Good. So the website was just an understanding, and we're trying to just go and incorporate that idea here, trying to understand how this would have worked. Simple as that. Okay. Now, if you have any questions, like I said, please feel free to stop me. I'm okay with that. Just let me know if you have any questions. Okay. I'm just going to go with the flow, and yeah, always feel free to stop me. Okay, I'm just going to come back a few steps. Let's just say this is where we are. So I've given the input, good. The query is framed, good. That query is being executed against the database, fine. Now let's say we're talking about data set like this. Let's imagine Amazon e-commerce website. Yes, let's say you work for Amazon. We are all working for Amazon. How big is Amazon's database, data set? Let's kind of think about it. Let's suppose we're just considering India for now, okay? In India, what do you think? How many number of transactions are going on? Millions and millions of transactions, yeah, per day. Okay, good. Let's do some math. Let's just have some number in your mind. Let's say 10 million, 20 million, whatever that is. Those many different number of transactions. Fine. Multiply that with 30. That's 30 days of transactions for you. 1 month's transaction. Do that for a year. Let's just do 1 day's transaction multiplied by 365. You do the math. But what we want here is, let's say, for example, your boss is trying to go and understand how did we perform. Let's say this is your profit charts for the manager wants to see last 7 years of data. Okay, I'm again writing things in my using my mouse. So again, don't mind the bad handwriting, but I hope it's all good, clear. Yeah. So we want to understand for Amazon, what is the profit trend for the last 7 years? I've given you the idea about the volume. I've kind of given you a glimpse of how that would be, so much of data. Now, my question here is, if I were just to query the database for Amazon, let me just change the color here. So we are trying to query the database for Amazon for last 7 years, let's say, for example. So last 7 years of data, right? And if you want to go and send this request to the database, what do you think will happen? Will you go and get the results in a few seconds, like what we saw in our website? Or is it going to take some time? What is your thought process here? What are you thinking? Will it come back quickly? Yes, no, maybe? I can't really see the chat here because I'm just drawing on the screen. So if you can just talk to me, that would be great. What do you think? It's going to take some time. Everyone agrees with that. It's not going to be super easy to go back like 7 years worth of transaction. It's going to be huge, millions or billions or trillions of transactions. Imagine you're just not looking at India, but across the globe for Amazon like database. Think of companies like Uber, Ola, Zomato, Zepto, Swiggy, whatever you want to think of. These different applications today, they are generating data like anything, right? Every single order, every single transaction that's coming up is being stored in the database. Now imagine, like, let's say 5 years, 6 years, 7 years worth of data, just going back a few years. It's going to be huge amount of data, and this is not going to be coming to you in a few seconds. I hope everyone agrees. Okay, I'm just going to check the chat box. I'm not getting any response, guys. I hope you're all with me. Yeah. So I hope This is clear. So we have certain inputs given, and based on that input, a query is getting framed. And if this was Amazon like database, if you want to go and query last 7 years worth of data, what do you think will come back to you? Do you think it will be returning the results in a few seconds? No, of course not. So that's what we are talking about, all right? So we have a query being sent to the database. And if this is for so many years, and this is for e-commerce giant like Amazon, or other applications today which are generating data like anything, if that's all the case, then I would say this is going to take some time, right? This is how I want you to look at it, understand it, all right? Good. So the query runs forever. That's what I'm showcasing here. The query just runs forever. It should complete, and then it should give you the results. But let's say for some reason it completes in some time. It can take a few hours, few number of hours, and then it can go and give you the results like this, right? So this is what we are talking about. We are talking about the delays during reporting in our traditional BI ways of working. Are you all following me here? Yes, everyone with me? This is what I want you to understand. So what is the disadvantages here? We're talking about the disadvantage, that is delays during report. So you want to go back like last 7 years worth of data, you can go and wait until that is completed here. The execution gets completed here, and then you get to see the results in your reporting environment. So there is a wait time for sure, and that's what I'm calling as the delays during reporting. Okay. The other disadvantage that I want to quote here, and while we go to the modern ways of working, these disadvantages will be converted as advantages, and we want to just look into that. So the second disadvantage that I'm talking about here is the dedicated developer being required for doing all of this. Okay. I showed you a snapshot just before this, the SSRS snapshot, and that was not a simple tool to use. That's a preview that you're getting, but when you start working with it, you need to be sure what you're doing. You need to understand what you're doing. More importantly, let's say, for example, I ask you to get started with, let's say, Java-based web development. Okay, just kind of showing it. I mean, throwing it up. So we just want to understand how to go and work on Java. And we need to at least understand what is a web development, what are the basics, HTML, CSS, some other languages that you want to go and look at. You cannot just like that get started with all of this just like that, right? So you need to have some understanding. You need to have some base. You need some exposure and experience with this tool. And that's what I'm talking about. We cannot go and get started with these tools just like that. These tools require dedicated developers who have a lot of experience and exposure to that. And that's how we want to look at it. Okay. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We'll see how these disadvantages convert into advantages as we progress and understand the modern ways of working. But this is how an old tool, let's say 10, 15 years ago, a tool would have been working. And how did modern BI tools like Power BI, Tableau is a modern tool. I talked about ClickView, ClickSense. I'm going to show you all that in the slide here. But how do these tools go and change the game? That's what we want to understand. All right. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on. But I just want to take a pause. I wanted to ask you if there are any questions on this slide. Let me know. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next one. Any questions here, anyone? Is it clear so far?
Yes.
Okay, good. Can I get a thumbs up, or can I get a yes on the chat box, please, from everyone? If you're all in sync and you're good so far. Yeah, okay, great. Thanks. That good. Thank you. All right, let's move on. So again, if someone from the morning batch has joined, this is the same repetition going on from the yesterday's session. We did not have the previous session for this particular batch. So yeah, that's the same thing that is going on. So if you want, you can stick around. Otherwise, you can feel free to drop off. I won't mind. Good. Let's move on. Have a look. Let's talk about the modern BI ways of working. All right. Let's see. So in the modern BI ways of working, this is where I'm going to have the Power BI tool come in. So let's say we have the same old server. I'm calling this as an on-prem server, which means on-premises server. So in the old days, like 10, 15 years ago, we did not have a cloud-based environment, right? So today it's everything is cloud. You go and open your phone, you can go and store everything in the cloud space. But today we have that technology, but in the past we never had it. So the organization would create a server in their own premises and they would store all the data. So that's the on-prem server. Okay. If you have seen some server rooms in some kind of YouTube videos, or if you have really, been to the organization, and if they have the server rooms, the stack of servers and all of that, that's what I'm talking about. So they would create a server room, and that's how this is all going to be. Okay. All right, so this is what I have. And then we have our modern BI tool, the Power BI tool, desktop tool. We'll work predominantly with desktop, and that's the reason I'm showing it here. But we'll understand how this goes, okay? All right, so how does this tool work really? Let's understand. So instead of, inputting things here, and then you go and create a query, you go back with a query to the database, coming back with the results, that was the traditional ways of working. So instead of doing all of that, what this tool does is, this tool would bring in or pull all the information that this tool requires for analysis. We talked about 7 years worth of data to show the profit trend. So we are going to pull the 7 years worth of information into this tool itself. Getting my point? So the tool is going to pull that information, and this is not a database. It cannot go and store the data. But what it is going to do is it's going to create a compressed versions of the file, and these files will be created as a local copy of that information in your local RAM. Are you getting this? So instead of going back to the database, talking based on a query, coming back with the results, what this particular tool is going to do is, let's say you need 7 years worth of data to analyze a few things. It's going to pull all that information, put it in the local random access memory, okay? And it's going to go create it as a compressed versions of the file. So basically what I'm telling you here is, we will have the data that we need brought into this tool, and this tool is going to create a compressed version of the file, and this is going to be put into the random access memory, and from that is where this tool is going to process the result. Okay, so we pull the data, compress it, put it in the put it in the random access memory, the cache memory, the temporary memory that you have in your laptop. Let's say that's what we are using, and we will start processing it from there. Okay, so since this tool has created a local copy of this information that we need, we don't need this connection anymore. We don't want to go back to the database, talk to the database and all of that. So I'm just going to show this as if it is cut off. Okay, so have a look. It's just cut off and we don't see this connection. So the tool is only going to look at your compressed versions of the file and read and write those information if needed. That's what it's going to refer to. Okay. So instead of going back to the database, coming back with the results, it's not going to do all of that. It has created a local copy of that information as a compressed versions of the file. And this is being stored in random access memory, like I said. And this is what this tool is going to refer to. So to read and write that information, it's going to just refer to all of this. Clear so far? Yeah. Okay, now let me take this idea forward. So I'm talking about compressed versions of the file. I'm talking about this being put into the RAM, random access memory. So let's understand what may be the impact. Okay, there's a ping. Let me see what that is. Is it possible to hold 7 years data in local RAM? Yeah, I'm coming to that question. Very good. That's what we want to understand. That's the basic foundation that I want you to understand. Okay. How much information can this tool go ahead and load? This is very important for you to understand. We don't want to just like that dump last 7 years worth of data into this tool and start working with it. We need to understand how this really works, right? That's the whole point. I'm bringing up all of this before even touching and getting into the tool itself. Yeah, hold on. I'll give you the answer and you'll understand this in a while. So that's the question we want to address. Very good. Thank you for that. But let's go ahead and understand this. So we have this information coming in, the details coming and sitting in your local RAM. This is being stored in your random access memory. You understand the RAM, right? It's like any application. Let's say you are using a heavy application. Have you played games in your in your cell phones and all? They would use RAM. They would put something in the cache memory. They'll just go ahead and process all of that. So if you have good amount of RAM, you will be able to do heavy lifting tasks. All right. That's what we will go and understand. Now, let's say, for example, we have about 8 GB of RAM. Okay, that's what we have here in our laptop. I have my laptop. I'm considering that as an example. I've got like, let's say 8 GB of RAM. Good. Now, what we have is, let's suppose from the database, we are having 10 GB of information coming in. And 10 GB is not going to be stored as is. We are doing some compression on top of it, right? So we have got this data getting compressed. So let's suppose we have 1:10 compression ratio, which means what? You're sending 10 GB of information. That will be compressed 10 times at least. So we are sending this one simple data set. It should be compressed in 10 times faster or 10 times better. So we would have about what? 10 GB of information getting or converted into 1 GB of information, right? That's what we have. Now, can 1 GB of information be stored in 8 GB RAM? The answer is yes. Yeah, everyone agrees. I hope everyone is with me here. Okay. So we are sending 10 GB of information. I'm assuming this is just an assumption. I'm not saying this is the compression ratio. I'm assuming that this tool can go and give me 1:10 compression ratio. This tool can do better. Okay. And it can do amazing things. So no worries on the data set. You can just go and push that, but we'll understand the limit here. That's the whole point. So we want to go and understand, okay, 1:10 is the assumption. It goes and compresses it 10 times. So 10 GB of data sent is going to be 1 GB of information, and that will be stored in your 8 GB RAM. Fantastic. So we can have all of this stored in 8 GB RAM. Good. Let's suppose we are now sending about 100 GB of information. It's the same 1:10 compression ratio. Let's go with that, stick to that. Now what happens here is we will have about 10 GB of information coming in. Okay, again, I'm using my mouse to write all of this. Sorry for that bad handwriting. Do you now think this 10 GB of information can be stored into the 8 GB RAM? Yes or no? We just have 8 GB. Definitely, it's a big no. Correct? Is this clear now? Yeah. Now, what we are talking about here, I'm going to refer to this as, in-memory concept. I'm going to say in-memory concept. And this is what the in-memory concept refers to. And these tools that are using these in-memory concept are going to be referred to as in-memory tools. Okay, so we are looking at Power BI. We are talking about an in-memory tool here, which uses an in-memory concept, which means nothing but it's going to store the data in the memory and process the results based on that. Now, how much can you go and load into your memory? There is a limit to that, right? And also understand that this 8 GB of RAM is not available for the complete consumption because you have your operating system that will be consuming some part of this one. Let's say it consumes about 0.5 GB of your RAM. There are certain other applications running behind the scenes, yes, and that will consume a lot of memory. And then you have Power BI. Let's say we got like what 7 GB left from that 8 GB of information, and we are only supposed to use 7 GB of data. So 1 GB is fine, but 10 GB, bringing in 10 GB of information will not be, be able to push that and store that and work with that information. Now 10 GB that is coming in, it's already compressed. We can't further compress it. So these things we'll have to understand. And what I'm talking about here is these tools are going to use memory, the RAM memory especially. It's not going to hard code and write it in your disk. It's not going to do that. It is only going to consume the memory here this way. But this will have a good, nice compression ratio. And the assumption that we have got here is 1:10 ratio, just so that our math is all simple here. Our understanding is all simple here. That's the reason I'm assuming it, but it can do better job at this. Okay. So we're talking about our limit. We're talking about the memory being the limit, and you cannot go and push so much of data into your tool here. even if I consider 7 years worth of data, and let's say we go with huge amount of compression ratio, the tool can go and compress it and load it and then still process the results. But it's going to be like, putting so much of effort into your memory. Probably you're just making this tool and the other operating system plus the entire system not so breathable, right? So you'll have the entire memory choked, and this tool is not going to respond, or maybe there are going to be slowness kind of understood or looked at. So you will get a lot of issues. Windows laptop, Windows machines, they'll always go and get stuck. They'll always be not responding to a lot of different things. So that is what is the challenge that I'm talking about. So don't let your tool go and occupy so much of memory that it is going to be difficult for you to work with this tool. That's the foundation that we want to set. Okay. So we don't want to go and load too much of data. Now, can I give you the answer, the right and the straightforward answer that this is what you should load, this is how you can load? I don't have a straightforward answer for you. Okay. Because the tool is getting updated now and then. The tool is going to be, becoming more and more efficient every single year, every single day. They're going to be coming up with much better compression ratios. Okay. So the tool is going to evolve, and I don't have a right answer here. How much can I go and load and work with the data? All right. So we don't have an answer. All you have to do is it's going to be a trial and error method. Okay. You have to go and check whether, okay, let's say last 1 year worth of data for Amazon, is it loading into your RAM? Is it something that you can work with for now? If yes, gradually and slowly increase this amount. Let's go with 2 years. Let's go with 3 years. Okay, I feel some issues with 3 years of loading. Let's just bring that down to 2 years of data. Now, you don't want to work with the entire 7 years worth of data because you are working on a very basic laptop. Yes, your organization is not going to invest in a supercomputer and give it to you. You will be working with a simple laptop. So all you have to do is connect to your data source, which is fine, bring in some data into your tool, and you want to come up with a template, right? Let's say last 1 year's worth of data, or let's just take 10,000 records. You don't want to go back 1 year for Amazon's database. 10,000 records. With that 10,000 records, can you not go and come up with a template? You can make sure that the counts are working fine, the number of records coming in, the count is all fine. 10,000 is what you should see. The sum of sales, for example, that's going to be added up to this much. You will know the answer, and that is something that you want to validate. So you want to come up with a template here. I don't want you to go and just work with the entire data. I hope you're getting my point. Now, after we are done with all of this, what we will do is we'll publish this to a server, and I'm just going to bring up that part later. But we are going to work with a cloud-based environment. Now, the cloud-based environment where we will go and publish is going to be much more better, much bigger in compute power. It's going to be having a lot of RAM. It can process a lot of data. So it will be a machine designed to handle huge volume of data, right? But your desktop version is not designed for all of this. So I want you to make sure you're working with certain lesser amount of records, come up with a template, make sure you're not loading too much of data to choke the memory, to go and, get every disadvantages out of this tool. This is something that we don't want to get into, right? So come up with a simple report, publish that to your server. We'll understand how to do that later point in time, and then up your information that is coming in. For example, you work with 10,000 records. Let's go and tweak that to load 7 years worth of data. Simple as that. And then your report is going to just go and do this, right? That's how we want to do it. Now let's assume this from different perspective. Let's say someone is manufacturing a motorcycle. Are they going to manufacture 10,000 motorcycles at once and understand whether it's working fine or not? No. They'll create a prototype. I want you to create just a prototype in this phase. This phase is just for creating a simple prototype for your report. You publish this to your cloud environment. You go and set things up. You just go and increase the number of records coming in. And that should be the way you want to go and look at it. I hope you're getting this idea, right? So we are talking about a tool which uses memory, and the memory is our limit. That's our limitation. That's going to be our disadvantage. If you just want to push so much of data, you won't be able to work with it. And this is very important for you to understand, right? Can I get a yes in the chat box or questions around it? If you're not clear, just say yes in the chat box. If you're clear about it, just let me know. Is this all clear so far? Yes. Good. All right. Fine. Thanks for that. All right. So now let's go and take it further. So once this is all done, once you understand how to work with your tool, in different stages of our learning process, I'm going to talk about the do's and don'ts with respect to this in-memory concept, okay? I'll refer to this concept as in-memory concept. This tool is called as in-memory tool. Let's assume and understand that way. And I'll be referring to this on and off, and you want to keep this in mind. From the very beginning, you launch this tool. Whenever you're working inside this tool, you have to remember this for sure. Every single thing that you do inside this tool is going to definitely directly or indirectly affect this concept. And if it affects these concepts, then you have to go and make sure that you're just taking care of that. Okay. And I'll touch base on that now and then. No worries. I'll show you how this works. Okay. All right, let's move on. So let's say, for example, once you're done with all of this, we'll be publishing that to the cloud-based environment. Like I said, it's going to be Power-based service. That's what this cloud environment is called as. We'll talk more about that server side of things. It's called as the service, Power-based service here. We'll talk more about that later. That's part of this course. That's part of this curriculum. That's what is coming up. But let's talk about the advantages here now. Okay. So we talked about the disadvantages of traditional BI tools. We are now talking about modern BI tools. We understood how this in-memory concept is all set up, all works. But let's go and understand how this, tool is really giving you the advantage or edge over the other things that we discussed. So the very first advantage that we get is we have our data coming and sitting in our local RAM. Yes or no? The data is now sitting in our random access memory. So if that's the case, we are sitting so close to our data that the reporting time is drastically reduced. Correct? You don't have to go back to the database, wait for that 7 years worth of query to be executed. You don't want to come back and then showcase the results. Now data is sitting right next to us and we can go and get to that very quickly. Okay. And remember, this tool is what is creating this compressed versions of the file. And hence, this tool will know how to read and write the data better and much faster, right? So that's the advantage that I'm talking about. So we get to understand, all right, what is the reporting time? And that's going to be drastically reduced. I can probably show you some reports and charts and graphs that I've created. A click of a button should respond and give it to you in no time. Okay. Just remind me if you want to look at it. Just remind me. I'll open a few reports that we have created and I can showcase that. But that's going to be the way this tool really works. Okay. All right. The second advantage that we have here is we have this tool. We call this as a self-service BI tool. Now, why do I call this as self-service BI tool, or why do we call this as a self-service BI tool? Because anyone can get started with this tool. All right. Let's say, for example, I want to talk to Jeff Bezos. Yeah. Amazon's CEO. Okay. Ex-CEO, I would say. I'm just talking to him and he wants to see a report. Fantastic. I say, hey, why not you go and get started with the report? So I tell him how to go connect to a data source. This is a drag and drop report builder. Let's say, for example, so easy, so simple that he can connect to the database. And if I just show him how, he should be able to go and bring out his own insights, drag and drop a few visuals and get started with that. So I'm talking about a management person, who's just managing everything. He's not a super techie here. And anyone like that, anyone with that kind of a mindset or a role can also go and create reports here with no pain. And that's the advantage that we have here. So anyone can get started with no time. They don't have to have a thorough understanding of a lot of information. You don't have to write queries here. You don't have to write codes here. And from the next session onwards, when I go jump into the tool, you'll see that we will not write any line of code until and unless it's a formula that you write in Excel, probably just similar to that. We write a formula to derive something. We want to go and derive a column. we want to derive something else, we write a simple formula. But other than that, there is no typing going on in this particular tool. There is no, you know, coding required in this particular tool. It's a drag and drop report builder, and this should be easily very well be done. All right. That's how I want you to look at it. So these are the advantages. And yes, we do have the disadvantages of checking the memory limit and making sure that your data is not exceeding that limit. That's a big disadvantage that you have got. But other than that, most of these things that we are discussing so far, the disadvantages of the traditional BI tool is now converted into the advantages of this modern BI tool. Yes or no? That's how I want you to look at it. Okay. Any questions here, anyone so far? Just let me know. Otherwise, I'll move on. We'll just talk about one more slide and then we'll be done with our session for today. This is just the foundation that I'm talking about. Like I said, from the next session onwards, I'll open the tool, I'll work with the tool. You will slowly understand and gradually move on to the next steps. Okay. Clear so far, everyone? Yes. Any questions? I'll take a moment, pause, and then ask you this question. Let's see.
I have one question.
Okay. Yes, please go on.
How long these compressed files stay in the RAM? Do we have to delete them, or I mean, how long these files stays in the RAM?
Very good question. So these stay in the RAM as long as you are working with Power BI Desktop. So let's say I open Power BI Desktop, I'm connecting the data set. These files are created behind the scenes. Now, once you close Power BI Desktop, they will get deleted automatically. So it's like your temporary memory, the cache memory that you have. Whenever you are working with some other application, they get utilized. And when you close the application, these memories are all released. These files are all deleted automatically, removed. And that's how I want you to look at it. So that's going to be automatically happening. You don't have to worry about it. Now, next time when you open this file, you don't have to really connect to the data source. It will know what data source are we connecting to and what information are we pulling. So it will automatically, do the thing, and it will just go and create this compressed versions of the file in the local memory and will start working with it. But until and unless you ask this tool to refresh it, let's say I want to refresh this tool, I'll go and refresh that, and then the compressed files will get updated and you'll have a fresh copy of the file. It will be more like, overwriting the file and getting the updated data, kind of brought in. So that's how these files are going to be created, and they get released as soon as you close the desktop version of it. That's it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, see, these are good questions, and that's why I keep asking, is there any questions or not? So I would really appreciate if you can talk to me. I don't want to be the only speaker. I don't want to be only person talking in this entire meeting. So yeah, just keep the questions coming in the chat. I would really appreciate that. Plus, like I said, always stop and ask these questions. Good.
Okay. Is there
Yes.
any way the real-time data can be fetched based on the requirement instead of putting everything uh, in the desktop?
Yeah, we can bring in data. We call that connection as a live connection. Okay. So
Yeah.
between your desktop version and this version, there can be a live connection established. Now, that will only happen for databases for some reason. That's how Power BI has designed it. It won't work for your, I would say Excel files or some files on SharePoint, or if you want to connect to some other sources, it may not work. But the number of times you refresh this data set can be increased. Let's say I want to do this like 5 minutes once. I can go with like 1 minute once. So it's near real-time information. I can very well do that. I can just increase the number of frequencies that I check and get back my results. That's going to be increased. That's more or less the real-time data. But still, if you really want to go with that real-time data, there is a connection called as live connection. In Power BI, it's called as a direct query for this case. We can establish that, but that works only with your databases. We'll get into that. I have a dedicated session for that. And these live connections are coming with some disadvantages. Okay. So there are going to be some disadvantages. You can't load millions and millions of records. You can just load 1 million record at the max. We'll discuss all those disadvantages as we progress. and that's what is coming up. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
So is this session is like a weekday session or weekend session or
This is a
the person?
weekday session. Yeah, this is a weekday session. We'll work from, I mean, we'll have these sessions from Monday to Friday. But since this batch is new and we are still seeing some, participants enrolling for this one, we don't want to cover too much of details. So we'll have this as an alternate sessions, and you'll be notified about all of these sessions. We'll have this on alternate days, maybe Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Our team is kind of gonna go and notify all this. And after a week or so, we'll have the continuous session, regular sessions from Monday to Friday.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Anything else, guys, before I move on?
As you said that it's a drag and drop tool.
Mm-hmm.
So how SQL is related to it? I mean, we have to go through that use of SQL, right? So how it is
Good.
connected with Power BI?
Right. So this database, if you want to go and connect to this database, and let's say you want to say, I want to bring in that 7 years worth of data. So you probably may be using a select query. Okay. I'm just giving you an example. And you'll have where, the date is less than or equal to, you would say 7 years, going back 7 years, so on and so forth. So you may want SQL queries for getting the data. That input query can be an SQL query. The database is SQL. So let's say I bring in a table and I want to work with that entire table. So again, a drag and drop means I can select a table. I can bring that table entirely into Power BI. But let's go back one step and let's say we want to validate it. Let's say you have 1 million record here and you're also seeing 1 million record here. Now, how will you prove that this report is showing the right number? So you have to go back. This is a SQL query. You have to write a SQL query in order to get this result, right? So the validation purposes also SQL comes into play. You want to connect to it. You want to bring the data into these tools. SQL comes into play. So again, imagine Uber, Ola, and all of these big, top-notch applications that I talked about, which are generating data on a daily basis, every single minute, every single second. Do they really go and use file systems? Will they go and store things in a CSV or a text file? No. It's going to be a database behind the scenes. So it's for sure a SQL database most of the time. It can be a NoSQL database, but we'll just go and learn SQL, and that should be good enough. It can be Oracle database, MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, whatnot, but it is built on a SQL, foundation, and that's what we want to do. So two advantages or two things from where I want to talk about. One is the data that you're pulling in, that can be a SQL query for you. Okay, that can be an SQL query. And otherwise, the validation requires you to write those queries and validate those numbers. So both of these things are definitely going to use that, SQL knowledge. So that's where it comes into play. But inside the tool, I mean, I would say it's just drag and drop report builder. I'm talking about building the reports as drag and drop. I'm not talking about anything else around it, right? So in the sense, validation, SQL is used. To pull the data, you want to use SQL. So those are all different places where you would use SQL. Okay. Yeah. Good. Anything else, anyone?
Is SQL part of this course or only Power BI?
We have it as a add-on given to this course. We have some recorded sessions that is available to you, and there are like 10 plus sessions, 10 plus for 15 plus hours of sessions given to you. You can parallelly go through that. Okay, so but the live instruction is going to be on Power BI. This tool is predominantly on Power BI. We have some recorded session that is given to you as a complimentary course along with this. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, good. You may just need Excel, some Excel knowledge, some simple formulas that you go and write, plus Power BI, plus SQL knowledge. With these three tools, I would say if you're just taking a career path as a data analyst, you can just go and survive for a long time. I have never learned anything beyond these three tools. Okay. I've not learned anything else. Yes, I do that for something else, but for my data analyst career and the career path that I've taken so far, I have never seen anything else apart from this. Yes, the organization, you go and read these interview job descriptions today. What happens there is they will ask Python, they will ask R, a lot of different tools, and these are data manipulation tool. You can do that with SQL, you can do with anything else. And it also depends based on what the organization is looking for. But I would say SQL, Excel, and Power BI should do. If you want to learn Python and R, you can very well do that after these three is all done. You don't have to jump and, kind of be into too many different technologies and tools right now, but that's how I want you to look at it. Yeah, good. Duration and course content. Okay, we'll go through the session. Every single session is going to be 1.5 hours long, maximum 1.5 hours. I'll try to wrap it up because this is going to be a late evening session. So I'll wrap it up in some 1 hour or so. I would like to shrink this and then give you that summary of it. Otherwise, we'll see how time just kind of flies on these different sessions. The total duration is we'll have about 40 to 45 hours of lecture. Okay, 20 plus sessions, live instructor-led sessions, and that will be around 35, 40, 45 hours max of sessions. You'll have assignments coming in, you'll have capstone projects at the end of the session. So all of this is all coming your way. So every module that I teach, I'm going to send out some assignments and hands-on that. You'll work on it, you'll submit it back, I'll review it and come back with the results and the feedback. That's what is going to happen. Finally, at the end of this course, you are going to work on 3 different capstone projects, and it's going to be different domains like sales, retail, insurance, and all of that. And you'll be working on those different things. Yes, that's how this course is all set up. Okay. We'll have some interview questions and resume preparation sessions as well at the end of the course. We would like to combine certain batches, or maybe I'll take one for this batch as well separately. And we can also have one-on-one doubt clearing session. So all of this is part of this course. Yeah. Okay, good. Let's move on.
What about the course fees?
The course fee is about 15,000, but I think you can reach out to our team and they can give you some concession based on that. You can talk to our team. It's there in our website. I'm just going to show you our website. I'll probably give you the link for that. Just give me 1 second. It's called rajinformatica.com. Okay. So if you go to this site, I'm just going to go grab the Power BI page. Give me 1 second. So you can go to courses and you can just go to Power BI. Yeah, you can check this out. I'm going to put that in the chat box here. Let's see. We'll cover DAX, Spark query, and so on. Yes, Spark query will be in detail covered. We'll have extensive DAX session. So you'll see all of that here. So we will go ahead and connect to different data sources, first of all. And the Power Query editor is all here. This one, transformation technique, data modeling, we'll do all of that. Then there is going to be extensive DAX related stuff. Have a look. We'll have so many different things done in a DAX session. I'm going to reserve 1/3 of this entire course for this DAX session. So we will be like, let's say it's 30-hour course, 10 hours plus of session is what is going to be reserved for DAX. So that's the extensive DAX preparation that we do. I'm going to give you all the foundation, the formulas and everything that I use on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to cover all of that. And you don't want to go beyond that. You can solve any problem. When I have something in hand, a task at hand, I'm calling that as a problem. So you can solve all these different tasks or problems that you have around the calculation and other things using DAX with whatever we are covering here. So that's more than enough. And you can add more to your knowledge for sure. But this set of, details, and it's just going to be more, even more. So this is what is going to be taught, and you'll have so much of experience. And I'm talking about foundational aspects here. We'll be covering all of that so that you can get started with DAX, and you will be confident when you're done with all of this, sessions. This is how I'm looking at it. Okay. Yeah. So I posted that link in the chat. Just click on it, bookmark it. You can look at it and then come back. If you have not enrolled for the course, just go through this. We also have a YouTube video or the YouTube link. Just give me a minute at the rate. Okay, I'm just going to go into this one. And you can go into our YouTube channel and you can search for Power BI course. So just do this. Some of the sessions recording is already available. So you can see that this is a demo that I've given some in the recent past maybe. And this is from me. Yes. And you can see we have, let's see, batch 6. Okay, the last batch session. The first session is all here. It's pretty much the same session that we are going through, but this will have at least 1 to 3 sessions. You can go and look at the recordings. You can understand how this course is going on. What do you understand, and do you really like the course or not? We will have at least first 3 sessions recorded and made available in YouTube. So just go and look at it. We will have from batch 1 onwards. Okay, this is batch 6, but there are batch 1, session 1, batch 2, session 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. Just look at it and you can get a thorough idea as well. So these are all the different sessions. Like I said, batch 5, session 2. It's all going to be the same. Just go and look at it and understand how we have it. Okay. Yeah. All right. How many years of experience can we keep after the course completion? It's up to you how good you are with your understanding in Power BI. I would say 1 to 2 years should do. We don't get most of the calls for the freshers, but yes, you can go and have 1 to 2 years of session. Okay. Yeah, we have a morning session at 8 a.m. in the morning. And, if you're just enrolling for this course, if you're paid the fee, we would enroll you into a group. That group will get all the details. Otherwise, we'll let you know. Just keep in touch with our team. Okay. Just go to our website. Just make sure you're getting in touch with our team. You can attend the first 3 sessions for free and understand how this is all coming up. And then you can start enrolling into this course. Okay. But you'll be getting the notification. You'll be put into a group. All of that will happen once, I think you enroll for the course. Yeah. All right. All of these are some sideways questions. I'm just going to park all of this aside if that's taking too much of a time. Let's go and get started with our last slide, and then we'll go through this and then, get into things here. Okay, let me see if there is anything else. No. All right, let's move on. Okay, so we have been talking about traditional BI. We have been talking about modern BI. So I want to first understand, what is BI? What is BI according to you all? Let me know. I'm just going to go into that slide. Okay, let's see. Okay, let me see what you have. What is BI?
Business
Okay.
intelligence.
Business intelligence, okay. But I want to understand the definition. What is the meaning of BI? What is
meaningful data that help us to make decisions.
Very good, very good. That covers almost everything there. Good. Anyone else wants to try? What is BI? Make transformations and load. Yeah. Okay. That's the first half of it. But what are you going to do with that transformations and loading of data? What is the end result, end goal? What are you going to do with that?
All the information that the business gets from the data that is available with them, and that will help them to make decisions.
Very good. That's a complete answer. And what I got from Vikas is also a complete answer, just that it was nice, short and sweet. But yes, that is a complete answer. Very good. Thank you for that. Now, before I jump onto this particular definition, let's just go and let me just go and show you where we are on with the respect to this tool. Okay. Now, this is a Magic Quadrants from Gartner. Gartner is a company that goes and rates a lot of different tools, and it goes and puts them in this 4 quadrant. It calls it as a Magic Quadrant. So have a look. It calls this as a Magic Quadrant. Now you can clearly see we have a quadrant for a leaders list, and Microsoft Power BI, this is our tool. That's a clear leader in this entire BI space. Okay. So that's the topmost tool right now in the market. That's the in-demand tool right now in the market. And it has not just achieved this name just because it's Microsoft. No, it has actually earned it. All right. And I'm not trying to go and, kind of sell anything here, but what I'm saying here is I have worked on this tool from the very beginning. This tool was launched somewhere in 2014 or 2015. Okay, I started working from that point onwards. I was for some reason put onto this particular tool right from the very beginning. I think I was lucky to go and learn it from that very basic, very thing like that. I call this as a baby, you know. I've seen this particular tool evolve. I've seen this tool grow. I understood the strategy that the Microsoft played out in this, you know, vast BI space. And how did they penetrate through all of this and then get to the top level here is amazing. And those are all the different things that you want to understand. Okay. So yeah, we're learning one of the best tools out there in the market. I would say Tableau was there for a long time. Tableau is a 25-year-old tool. Okay, and Click is what I was mentioning as well. Click View, Click Sense. Click is the company name, and it has two products, Click View and Click Sense. Click View is one of the old ones, but we have Click Sense coming in. So you'll also see this or hear this name somewhere. We have other tools from Oracle, ThoughtSpot, Google is coming on top, but it has not beaten this Microsoft. This is just like what, 10-year-old tool. And this tool has kind of become the leader in the market here. So that's what I wanted to highlight. And it's the BI space, the business intelligence space that we're talking about. This is a 2025 May snapshot. You're looking at this as of now. So you can go back and check, you know, Gartner's Magic Quadrant for BI, let's say 2014, 2015, 2016. Just go through all of that. You'll understand how Microsoft kind of, you know, occupied this leader space for so long. And then it actually evolved and boomed as a leader, and it has stayed there for a long, long time. Okay, this is not just this year's achievement. This has been since, I would say, 2017, 2016, somewhere. Within a year or two, Microsoft has, you know, got that role of a leader, and then it has just kind of led this BI space in that particular thing. So it's a simple tool to learn, even simpler than Excel. That's what I usually call it. And it is one of the top-notch tools out there in the market right now. It's one of the in-demand tools. I'm not just, you know, kind of giving this just to sell anything, but like I said, you know, it's the best tool. And I've seen this grow. I've seen this evolve. We will see the amazing power of this tool and the capabilities of this tool. That's what we will go and learn. And like I said, it's super easy to learn. Yeah, we'll get to that. Okay, coming back to the business intelligence definition, I think I got those answers, and that's the complete answer that I got. So let's go ahead and go through the definition here. So the business intelligence term refers to, BI refers to business intelligence. And this is the process of transforming the raw data, yeah, into some actionable insights. We want to go ahead and build some insights out of it. Through what? Through some data analysis, visualizations, and reporting. And we want to go and do all of this. Why are we building these reports? Why are we building these visualization? For what purposes? The purpose is to help business decisions to be taken. Okay. So we are going to help people take that informed business decision. That's the whole point of it. All right. So what I would say is, and look at this diagram below, I'm just going to break it into two parts. This I call it as a first half of this entire phase. This I call it as a second half of this entire phase. Okay. The first half is what I was getting as an answer. Let's say someone was talking about transforming and loading the data. Yes, very good. We do that. But that's not the end of it. What are we going to do with that? Our goal is to go and get our hands on that raw data. Yes, we want to get that raw data. We want to convert that into some sort of a report, dashboard, or we want to bring out that visually in some fashion. And then we want to share that with our users so that the users can take that informed decisions. That's the whole point. We want to share this report to our users. And these are not users, just like any other users, you know. I'm not going to share this with the freshers of the organization. Let's say I bring in, a few thousands or hundreds of different freshers every year. I'm not sharing the report with them. I'm sharing these reports with business users. Who are they? They're going to be the top level executives. They are going to be the decision makers in the organization. We want to help them take that business decision. That is the key point here. Okay. So if your reports are not serving this purpose, then there is no point in building that report. All right. So let's take the example of Amazon, and let's say I talk about Amazon, Jeff Bezos again. Let's just do that. I'm showing a report to Jeff Bezos, and he's looking at a region, let's say, for example, where we have put up the warehouse, we have invested so much of amount of money, and we have not even generated a single penny out of that region. then what's the point in doing all of that, right? We'll just go and look at our data. We'll understand that, okay, things are not happening there in that particular region. There is no or not much revenue coming in. And I would just go and look at that for 1 more month max. Let's just continue with the service on that location for some time. Otherwise, we'll just shift our focus to some other region. These decisions are to be made. Who's going to make that decision? Is that going to be a fresher entering the organization? No. We want to go and present this to the top level executives. It can be a chief technical officer, technology officer. It can be your chief financial officer. Based on some financial reports, you want to report that. It can be your CEO of the company, CFO of the company, whatnot. You're talking about those decision makers in the organizations, looking at the report, making decisions, and it can be any report. It need not be a sales report. It can be any report. Let's say, how are the different teams performing with respect to some sort of revenue growth to the organization? What are the expenses that we are incurring in order to keep our resources, maintain and manage our office facilities? These are some reports that everyone wants to see from an organization perspective, right? I'm just talking about all of that, and anyone who is on that decision making level, that's the business user I'm talking about. And if they can take decisions based on our data, that would be amazing. That would be great. Yeah. So that's what we are looking at. All right. So we would like to go and understand where is our data, take that data and come up with some visualizations, chart graphs and visuals to help you really, understand what's going on. And that data can tell us all of that. And once that is all done, share that with your users, and you'll be just going ahead and helping them to take that informed business decision. And that's the key. So without that second half of it, where you're sharing this report and letting the users kind of take this advantage and take that decision, the entire definition of business intelligence is not complete. All right. So that's what I wanted, and that's the answer that I got. Very good. Thanks for that. And I hope you're now getting what is beyond. Okay. Yeah. Let's just move on. And I just wanted to give you a glimpse of what goes on into these different things. It's a simple flow diagram that I have, but this really, kind of is important for us to learn and understand what really goes on in this process. And we want to break it down. We want to understand how this comes into play in Power BI. We'll talk more about it later, but that's what I'll go through. And just give me another 5-10 minutes max, and then we'll just be wrapping up this session. Okay. All right. So let's talk about this data source here. What is our data source? Why are we having so many different data sources? Now, I kind of use this example again and again, but let's just do that for some time. So let's again talk about Amazon. Okay. And let's say, for example, they started their business in around 1996. I think that's when it was launched. Okay. And in 1996, do you think they were a company of this you know, we call them as a giant in e-commerce business. Today, it's an established company in different technologies, domains. I can say they are the leader in the cloud infrastructure. They are the leader in the e-commerce business. They are into a lot of different small things, but they are kind of into so many things. But do you really think when they started out in that early days, they were like that? They were so big, so much expanded across the globe? No. So they started maybe very small, and probably they were just very small, too small that they had some, CSV files or text files being used, and they were just writing their data into this file and saving it. Okay. So a lot of organizations will start using some CSV files. They'll go and have something on PDF or an Excel file and whatnot. Some file system I'm just talking about. So probably they started off like that because they were a small company. They did not have any, too much of investment going on. Probably this guy started this in his basement or something like that. Jeff Bezos was working on all the code all the time, and he just came up with Amazon. Let's suppose, okay, the Apple, company started in a garage, right? We understand all of this. None of these companies, the top million, trillion, companies today, these did not start just with so much of money already. They evolved over time and they gave the best services, and they are the leaders in this market today. Good. So as the time progressed, can I say they would have expanded their business? They wouldn't have got enough, things to go and store in the file. So they wanted to kind of upgrade. So let's say they upgraded to a database level. I'm just kind of making it up, okay? So they kind of went ahead and started storing the data in their databases. Good. They could have come up with some sort of a database, the best possible database in that particular time. Let's say this was around 2010 or something. I know I'm writing on top of text, but it's just an example. So we just couldn't go with that. Something like that. 10, 15 years down the line, they just kind of expanded their business. They're into a lot of countries, let's say, and they're storing all of that data today in the database. Good. As they slowly evolved, they would have also, kind of put their data on the cloud, and they're probably storing that on the cloud. So let's say this is 2021 or so till 2025, or that revolution started long back, 2017 to 2025, whatever that is. They started storing things in cloud system, and this is where they are storing the data today. Now, if you want to go back like few years and you want to go ahead and visualize the growth of Amazon, or you may want to understand what happened over the period of time. How did we evolve? What were the transactions? What were the revenues? What were the profit for those many years? What you should do is you should start collating these information, yes or no, from all of these different data sources. So you'll go and dust all of those CSV files, you'll get that, and you'll start loading that in one place. You want to go and get all the data from the databases, the cloud-based systems today, and you want to collate all of that, and you want to bring it all into something like that. Let's say we call this as a data warehouse. We'll go and put it into a data warehouse, and we are just having all of that. So this has all the historical records. Plus, you can also have some transactions record coming in, and all of that can also be brought in. I'm just kind of coming up with some theory here, right? So they were an old company, and they could have had the data sets in a lot of different places, and you want to just collate all of that, bring it into a data warehouse, and that's how things should work. Yes, that's what we're talking about. So we are talking about companies with their data lying in different formats. It can happen for one or many reasons, all right? But a lot of organization will not be, let's say, different processes within the organization. I can have, if I'm talking about an insurance domain, I can also have a company or a service-based company talking about and taking projects on service-based projects on, banking domains, insurance domains, retail domain, something else. It can be wide varieties of different domains, and we are probably going in and kind of servicing them from different perspective. So your data can be stored in different perspective. If I want to understand what is the total volume of transactions we are doing, we may want to go and connect to every such system and then get the data. So obviously you will go and connect to a lot of different data sources, and that is what is going to be coming in into your data flows. Yes. Now, like I said, you don't really have to have data warehouse. If it is Power BI, all of this data can be transformed into that compressed versions of the file. You can store all of that in RAM. If possible, start visualizing based on that and start letting your users use it. And all of that can still happen, right? So this is something that I'm just kind of making sure you understand as well. It need not be the flow that I'm showing you, but it can be the way Power BI works. And it can always happen that way. Okay, good. Let's talk about the ETL stuff here. Okay. Now, what happens usually is whenever you're looking at your data source, you may want to extract this data. You have identified your data sources, or in other words, if you are working with data sources, you'll obviously go and use this mechanism called as ETL. You can call this as a process. You can call this as a simple steps that you follow to go and get your data, work with your data, so on and so forth. But this process is inevitable. If you're working with data, you're for sure doing this ETL process. Okay. So this is how I want you to look at it. Now let's understand this in some nitty-gritty details. So have a look. So extraction is all clear. I think it's all about pulling the data. It's all about importing the data into a tool like this, Power BI or something like that. Loading is all about pushing the data into some place. It can be a database, for example, a data warehouse. I'll get to this information in a while. Or maybe that compressed versions of the file that we talked about. It can be stored in RAM and processed. So all of that is possible. So extraction is all about bringing the data into the tool. Loading the data is again pushing that data to some place where you're storing and working with that data. That's what we are talking about. Let's talk about transformation here. This is the very important aspect of all of this. You'll be working on a lot of transformation in Power BI as well. I'm going to walk you through that step. We'll have at least 3 to 4 sessions on transformations. So there is going to be a huge learning and huge transformations that you'll do. So we'll understand how to do that. Okay. So what do you mean by transformation? What do I mean by transformation? Let's understand that part. Okay. Let's say I'm bringing in a population data set. Okay. And there is a column called as a gender column. There is a gender column. And I have only zeros and ones here. Let's say 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, something like that. Just zeros and ones comprising of this entire column. Good. Now I go and move on to the next step, visualization. I'll go and create a simple report or a visual that talks about the count of these different details, the 0 and 1's count. I share it with my user. What is the first question he'll come up with? He'll right away ask you, okay, what is 0 and what is 1? Yes, he wants to know the idea behind the zeros and ones, the meaning behind the zeros and ones. So what will you do? You'll have to go back and you'll have to go and add more meaning to it. Let's say 0 is called as male, 1 is for female. So this becomes male and this becomes female. And then when you share this information again, yes, now it makes sense, right? So what have we done here? We have transformed our data into something meaningful. Yes or no? So we have zeros and ones coming in. That's not going to make sense if you come up with a visualization based on the same thing. You have to convert it into a more meaningful format. And any such change that is happening with your data set is going to be a transformation technique. And that's what we are talking about here. I hope you're getting this. Yes. So adding more meaning to your data set is transformation. Let me give you another example. Let's say there is a file that you're loading, and this is the only data that you need. Okay, let's say there is this data, and this is your tabular format of the data. This is the table and the data that you need. But on top of this, there can be some headers. There can be some IP address of how and where this particular file generator, the timestamp of this file's generation. There can be some footers on row level, row numbers, the number of rows, the number of columns, etc., etc. I know you understand the point. So we don't need these headers. We don't need the footers. I want to only take this table forward. Yes or no? So if you want to delete all of these rows, if you want to delete all of these rows at the bottom, and you only take this forward, this is again a transformation. You have modified your data to some extent, and you have deleted some rows. Maybe let's suppose there are 200 columns coming in. You don't want 200 columns to be used. You hardly would be using 20 columns out of it. So let's get rid of the rest of the rows or columns, just deleting that unwanted rows, unwanted columns, adding some meanings, deriving certain details in your data set. All these different changes that you're doing to the data that you're bringing into some place is what is called as transformation. Is that making sense? Yeah, I hope so. So this is what we call as transformation, and that's how I want you to look at it. Okay. So no matter what you do, whenever you work with data source, and remember this statement, just you can, write it in stone and keep it. Your data source is never going to be clean. All right. The data sources are never going to be clean. So you have to make sure that, the data is cleansed, and transforming your data is a way to cleanse your data. It's to shape your data. It is to, remove those unwanted details and only add meaningful details, or maybe take meaningful details forward into the visualization phase. So that you can build nice, good visuals and not with some junk data. Okay. So that zeros and ones, remember that for sure. If you have the data coming in like that, zeros and ones, and you have a count of all of this, good. You have to always go back to this step, transform your data, and then come back and fix all of these issues, right? So transformation becomes one of the important steps while you go and work with your data, and you should go and understand how to do it. And we'll dedicatedly use and spend some time here you'll understand how this goes, and this is what we're talking about. Okay. So from the next session onwards, or maybe the third session onwards, we'll jump right into the tool and we'll understand how this goes. Okay. Good. Let's go ahead and understand this part. I hope everyone is clear until this one. Any questions here? Anyone? I'll just take a pause. Let's see if there are any questions. Okay. All right, good. Let's move on. Okay, I have the data warehouse here in the picture because we want to learn some basic terminologies. I call these as concepts. Okay. So there are going to be some definitions and terminologies and concepts that we will learn. There are going to be some definitions like dimensions. What is a dimension? What is a measure? We want to understand this. We want to understand dimension modeling or data modeling. Okay, we want to learn all of this. All of this comes from this base. The base for all of that is data warehouse. And that's the reason I have this in the picture. Okay. So we want to understand certain basic ways in which Power BI will work. It's going to utilize this foundation of a data modeling or dimension modeling. So it's going to use that foundation. So we'll learn all of that, and then we will proceed to the very, very important concept of visualizing the data, right? So these are important. Now, you may have also understood what is DAX. Someone said and asked questions around DAX. So we want to learn DAX. We want to learn what is this, that, and so many other things. And then only we'll go and get into the visualization phase. So all of these things are coming from your data warehouse as a concept. That's what we will do. But yeah, this is just for the sake of it. Data warehouse also can be looked at as a database or a place where you're storing the data and everything. So what happens is the data is already loaded into the database. And then you can just connect to this data warehouse and start visualizing the data. Whenever I talk about these big companies, the giants in certain cases, Amazon, Flipkart or Uber, Ola, Zomato, Zepto, Swiggy, all of these different things that are generating data on a daily basis, I would say they are generating data and they are already having probably a data warehouse. So they identified their old data sources. They have already performed the ETL. They've already loaded that into data warehouse. And from this itself, they are trying to connect and go through the visualization phase. So that can be a possibility, or like we understood, we'll go and create that compressed versions of the file, then start utilizing the visualization capabilities of this tool, so on and so forth. And then we'll share our reports with our users. So it can go in different directions, but yeah, you will understand what is your data source as you go into the organization. It can be a data warehouse where all of these things are already done for you from here to here. They've already loaded all of this, done the ETL stuff, and you just want to connect to the data warehouse and go from there. Or you have to do this right from the scratch. You have to take all of this information to your visualization tool. There is the ETL stuff coming in, probably the RAM storage that I talked about, all of that coming in, and then you start visualizing the data. So it's up to you how you want to go and do this. And it's also based on the project, the framework they have, and the database and whatnot. Other things are also all dependent on this detailing. Good. Okay, so I hope you're clear with that. I just want to make sure that you understand the reason why I have visualization here. Look at visualization. And if you remember me splitting this into two, visualization is the last thing that you want to worry about in the phase one of the process. What is phase one? Phase one is all about transforming your raw data into actionable insights. Through what? Through some data analysis, visualization, and reporting. That's what you're going to do here. Now, visualization is the last thing that you want to worry about. You don't want to get started with this right away. You're just not, starting the application and then starting off with visualization. No, you have to make sure that your data is all looking good. You have to identify your data sources, first of all. Then you'll work on ETL stuff. Then we'll work on that, data modeling, the definitions of it, dimensions or measures. We talk about DAX here. We'll talk about a lot of other things. And then comes visualization. Okay. So I don't want you to jump right into the visualization phase. Like I said, if you just go with this visualization phase right away, you'll have that zeros and ones coming in. And that is always going to ask you to go back to your transformation phase, come back with a meaningful results. The back and forth is always going to happen because you have jumped right into the visualization phase. Okay. So I am not going to do that. I will go take this particular course in such a way that we go through the data sources first. We understand the data. We'll do some ETL work. We'll talk a lot of things like DAX. We'll talk about data modeling here, and then we will get into the visualization phase. So visualization, I would say it's going to be some 15th or 20th session. We're not going to learn that right away. Before that, there is a lot to learn. Okay. So we'll just go and talk about this later. And visualization is the easiest thing to do. It's a piece of cake for you. Okay. So it's going to be that simple, that easy. You don't have to stress much. You don't have to sweat at all. It's all simple and easy. All you have to do is do the hard work on these areas, and then this should be a piece of cake for you. Okay. So yeah, that's how I want you to understand it. Nothing complex. Okay. Once you have the visualization ready, yes, we'll go and share that with our users. This is again going to be super easy. We'll cover this in last 3 to 4 sessions max. And that's going to be the sharing and collaborating with your users. We'll talk about the server side of it, how to publish and what to do, so on and so forth. Okay. So yeah, that's what I wanted to cover for today. And that's what was covered in the morning batch. We'll just wrap it up here. But if you are interested in just installing Power BI and then getting started with that, I would just like to give you this idea. And I think if you were part of the demo, you would have already known it. If not, no worries. I'll just let you know. So if you're a Windows user, go to your, start and search for a program or an application called as Microsoft Store. Okay. And you just have to click on Microsoft Store. Let me just click on it. And what you have to do is search for Power BI Desktop and get it installed from here. That's it. Simple as that. Search for Microsoft Store application. I hope you're on Windows 10 or Windows 11. Windows 8 is not supported. It has been taken out recently. Mac users, I'm afraid there is no way you can install this. You'll have to find a Windows machine to go and do this, okay? So if you're on a Windows 10 or 11, you can install Power BI Desktop. Only install Power BI Desktop. There will be other tools based on Power BI. You don't really have to do it. You don't have to install Report Builder. This is not part of our course. We are not going to learn Report Builder. Just install desktop version. You will see a button to get that installed. Click on that and install it. That's it. It will be hardly a few minutes, and then you should be done with that. Okay. Yeah, just keep that ready. And if not, I'll give you the same instructions in the next session as well. But you can install it and we will work on this tool from next session onwards. I think our next session will be on Monday or so. We'll let you know in the group, or we'll send that notification to all of you. I think a lot of you have shared the numbers, and yeah, we'll just reach out to you. Okay. All right. Any questions from this session? Anything from this slide or anything from any of the slides or any of the topics that we have covered? Do let me know. Okay, so we have a long way to go. This is just a foundation session. I'm just kind of,
Get that.
I'm just kind of giving you the basic idea, how this tool works, what to do, what not to do. And with that foundation, we will just build on top of it. Next session is going to be introduction to the data set that I'll use for most of the time, plus the tool itself. We'll understand the interface, how to connect and load a lot of different data sources. That's what is coming up. And yeah, we'll learn that in some time. Okay. Just for the last time, any questions from any of these different things that we just talked about? Let me know. All right. If not, I would again go ahead and show you this screen here. Just reach out to my team in case you need anything. Just connect with them on this number. Okay. And you can even talk to me. Just request that. Talk to me if you have any technical questions to be answered. They will just kind of, route that queries to me. I'll get that answered. I'll help you out in, kind of getting anything clarified. Okay. Yeah, just make a note of this number, and I think I can just, I don't know if I can copy that or not. But yes, reach out to this number and then you should be able to go and do this. I'm just going to paste this link again in the chat box. For those who are new, just for their reference, yes. That's right. All right, great. I don't see any questions coming, guys. Hope it was all useful. Good, nice info. We're just getting started. Like I said, we'll deep dive into our tool in some time. Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much. It's really late in India. Thanks for staying up for so long. I'll connect back with you on Monday and we'll go through the rest of the details. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye. See you. Thank you.